Hi. What you guys are about to see is a Muay Thai library session with Sirimongkol Lertrit. He was Fighter of the Year in 1972. And this is a very special library session for me and for the library itself because Sirimongkol passed away last year unexpectedly. Kevin and I were able to go to his cremation ceremony, and it was a very moving experience for both of us, having met Sirimongkol only briefly, but he had a big impact on our lives and the kind of man that he was. Part of the goal of the Muay Thai library is to preserve the men themselves. So while this is very probably the last footage of Sirimongkol showing his style at all, it also includes an interview with Sirimongkol talking about his life, and you get to experience what he was like and who he was, which to me is incredibly important. It's also a very cool session because it includes General Tunwakom and his Muay Karat Lertrit style. He's in the library previously, but this is showing more of his style and has Sirimongkol helping out, and you get to see their relationship with each other, which I enjoy very much. So I hope you guys really like this session. I do. This is Sirimongkol Lertrit. He was Fighter of the Year in 1972. And here he's about 71, 72 years old. And this is at the Cultural Center, the Muay Thai Cultural Center, where he's been teaching with General Tunwakom for a number of years. This is maybe the last footage of Sirimongkol that there is. He died last year very unexpectedly. Kevin and I went to his cremation ceremony. We only met him twice, but he impacted us very strongly. He was a very sweet man, and the way that he was teaching General Tunwakom's style was really beautiful. That's General Tunwakom behind him. But we asked Sirimongkol to teach me his style for the Muay Thai library. Getting him in the library was important to us and became even more important after he died. We were very happy that we got even a little bit of it. But I think because he's been teaching Tunwakom's style for so long, he was a little bit confused about what I wanted when I asked him to teach me his style. But here he goes. He was Southpaw, and so he's showing me how when someone is punching or kicking, you just attack that open side. He's kicking underneath my kick, which is something that Ajahn Berklerk does as well. He's in the Muay Thai library. But this thing that he's doing where he's countering the kick by pushing on it, that's something that General Tunwakom's style teaches. There was a little bit of confusion when we first started because I'm standing Southpaw and he's Southpaw, so I had to change back to Orthodox in order for a lot of his moves to make sense, because fighting as a Southpaw in general, you're fighting Orthodox fighters. But he's showing what to do, letting me kick over and over again, and he's showing the various options that you have. I'm asking, if you step back, do you not get hit by the kick? And he's saying that you go slightly out of the way. So you're going away from the kick and coming back. See how he's taking the power out of the kick by that step over? Lots of people do that when they're going to catch the kick as well. But he's saying that you can actually interrupt the kick itself with a knee into the thigh, or even a teep into the thigh. This would often be seen or categorized as Baran movements, but he actually did this stuff. Like, he actually feels this stuff in what he's showing. I like how he attacks that standing leg. I'm saying, do you have to turn your waist when you're kicking that leg out? And look at how much he turns his body. And he kicks up into the thigh. He doesn't kick really low. Ajahn Berkler kicks down low by the ankle. But Sirimongkol says that when it's kick against kick, it's whoever's doing more damage. And so when he kicks the standing leg, even if my kick reaches him, it doesn't reach with very much power because the power is being interrupted by him kicking my leg. I love how what he's showing me, he can just stand in one spot. Like he's like, throw whatever you want, I'm gonna stand right here. Oh, his knee went right into like the inside line of my leg. It was very painful. He said he did this at Lumpini. He's saying it's better than blocking. When you block like shin to shin, that's alright, but he's saying that it's better because it takes the power out of their future kicks as well to hit on the inside of the leg because it's fleshy, like you're doing damage.
If you knee it as it's coming up, you truncate the power.
So when you make the contact on the upper leg as someone's kicking, you take power out of the kick.
Said in the old days there were lots of options.
He's saying that he liked to come forward in his counters. He said before there were lots of options, but his favorite thing to do was to stay really close and come in to take power out. He said it depends on who's faster. I asked him, where do you look? And he's like, in Muay Thai, you look at the face. He says, look at the face, look in the eyes. So he's making a point here. He's like, throw whatever you want to throw. He says that you can see the entire sight picture when you're looking at someone's face, and you know what their intentions are when you're looking at their face. He's so sweet the way he laughs. He's like, you can see the whole body.
He's looking at the face.
So I'm asking if he has to step over to the side for that kick when the opponent is kicking right. He's saying you don't have to step super hard to the side, but you have to take a step closer. So I'm asking him about teeps, and he's like, me teeping or you teeping? And General Tunwakom is like, take your shoes off. Sirimongkol's like, I forgot. He's wearing his fancy shoes to do Muay Thai. So this is cool because as a Southpaw fighter, you actually teep to the closed side of the opponent because you're front side, like you're see how my front side and his front side are on the same side? So he's teeping to the closed side with his front leg, but it's setting up for the open side in a nice way. He's saying if you teep with the left side, it's stronger, but it's a greater distance as well. So he likes to teep from the front to set up for his power side. I'm asking where he makes contact with his teep, and he points to the ball of his foot, but then he makes a point in showing me where it is, and it feels lower to me. It's like under the ball of the foot. He's like, you can teep for real, go ahead and teep me. And he just steps in on me, and I do not want to teep anymore. So this is how he deals with teeps. And he just uses his front side. He doesn't use both arms so much. He just sweeps left and right with his front arm. But he's like, keep looking at the face as you do this. He's like, don't look at the foot. Look at the person's face. He is like barely moving, but he is seriously pushing my leg hard to the outside. And he just keeps that guard up in the back. So I'm like, you as a Southpaw fighter, what did you like to do? What was your favorite weapon? And he's like, everything. It depends on the opponent. But he said he liked to elbow right into the like cheekbone.
It's not orthodox against him.
But see how he changes levels. He starts with a leg kick and then he goes higher. It's kind of, it's something I've encountered more than once when you ask a fighter, like a great fighter, what their favorite thing to do was. And they're like, everything. Is because they're responding to things. Like they're having a conversation with their opponent. So he likes to kick into the ribs as someone's trying to punch at him. But he's saying if you kick someone in the arm, it doesn't hurt. When their arm is extended and their ribs are exposed, that's a good strike. I asked him, do you like to punch or do you like to kick? And he's like, yes. Both. Because to him, honestly, it depended on the opponent. He's saying if you can't beat them with punches, you go to elbows. If you can't beat them with elbows, you go to kicks. Can't beat them with kicks, you go to knees. Like, he had everything. I asked him what do you do when you fight a Muay Thai, and he said, I'm not afraid of Muay Thai. He said, I would never let them grab my neck. And so I come in trying to grab his neck in the clinch, and look at how he just... he's enjoying himself too. He just keeps me out with everything super easily. But he's using his forearms, so it actually kind of hurts as he's parrying me out. I'm laughing because the first time I met him, General Tunwakom had me clinch him to show me something, and I grabbed him in the clinch, and he was a little bit surprised, and he does not like being clinched, so he just went, he like took it up 3 levels and threw me on the ground, which was amazing. But learning this now that he's like, I'm not afraid of Muay Thai, I just don't let them grab me.
That's a good trip.
This is great. When someone is trying to knee you, he just goes around the knee and kicks out the standing leg. See how he times it? A lot of older Muay Thai was about like snuffing people's favorite weapons.
Again, the leg is longer.
So the leg is longer than the knee, so he can just come outside of it
for himself.
Pick that standing leg up. So I'm asking him what to do when someone's punching at you. And it's very similar to what he was doing to snuff my clinch. It's just parrying the forearms. See how he just barely steps outside? It's very funny and sweet. So he's saying if we were fighting, he's switching, right? So now he's punching at me, and all I have to do is parry his arms. I'm just practicing what he was just showing me. But he uses the heel of his palm. So in the glove, that's a very hard part because there's no padding there at all. So putting that on someone's face or like pushing their forearms with it, you can make some pretty good impact with it. Just push it off. See how he creates an opening while he does that too. So he parries it out of the way, and then he has his secondary attack. It's really beautiful how you can see his Muay Thai through his age. Like, it's so beautiful, even though it's slowed down because of his age. You can see how that looked when he was a young man and like where the power comes from the technique. He said he didn't like to step back because then what do? He's like, you go backwards and then you can't touch anybody. So he liked to step in and stay close.
See, like, you never really have to go out.
He's going towards my front side, so he's basically moving into my blind side all the time. He's like, if you try to go this way, you're going into someone's power. Why would you go that way?
That's my power side. That's orthodox. So he doesn't want to walk into it.
So he's showing how you switch directions based on the stance of your
What was
opponent.
his strongest weapon? The weapon he liked the most? Everything? And did he fight 5 rounds or go light in the beginning
now
rounds?
We're asking him tactically how he liked to fight 5-round fights. Like, did he go hard all 5 rounds? No. Rounds 1 and 2, you basically just use technique and like see what your opponent has. In round 3, you start to go. It's like if you go super hard in rounds 1 and 2, there's no power in 4 and 5. But you show off your techniques in the earlier rounds, but you also don't bring everything out because you want to have like surprises later. And he's like, round 3 is when you start to go. He's saying you use rhythm and timing in rounds 1 and 2, which is great because you use that in rounds 3, 4, and 5 as well, but with power and like with the aim to hurt your opponent. I asked him, do you like to wait for your opponent or do you like to bring your weapons out? And he's like, oh, no, I don't start.
Counter?
He's a counter fighter, for sure. So we decided to interview Sirimongkol because he had a super interesting life. He's from Chachoengsao, which is above Bangkok by about an hour, but they have very good fighters from there. Both Samart and his brother Kongtorni are from there. I asked him if he started training in Chachoengsao, and he said that he loved Muay Thai, and so he just started training himself.
He started Muay Thai on his own. He just trained himself.
Cooking means like I trained myself.
He helped with cars.
Oi! At what age?
He fixed cars and then just liked Muay Thai.
17.
He started when he was 17. This is unusual. It's not unusual because every legend I talked to started way later than I thought they would have. But 17 feels late. So when he started fighting, he was fighting in temples. Temple fights is a thing. And
The first
it's
time
not
he fought in a
unusual.
temple fight, he was the main event.
He
won
trained himself,
knockout round 2.
and then his first
At what
fight,
age?
they made him the main
17.
event in a temple fight, and he knocked the guy out in the second round. So then, the second time he fought, the main event canceled, and so he had to step in. In his second fight, and he became very famous for this, he fought against a man and knocked him out in round 1, and the man died on the ring.
Before Lumpini?
This was when he was 17. This was like one of his first fights.
This was when he was 17 years old, and his second fight, his opponent died in the ring.
The guy was 35.
His opponent was 35 years old. And Sirimongkol actually got a nickname, the Executioner, because of this fight. He's saying that he kneed him in the solar plexus, and the man just stopped breathing. His eyes rolled back when he fell on the ground.
เจ็บทีนี้เนาะ
ก็เข่าเขาดิตาเหลือกตาเหลือก
บนเวทีใช่ไหม
บนเวทีกรรมการนับดู
So he's saying his eyes rolled back.
ไม่ลุกแน่แล้วก็หันมาจับผมชนะ
The referee counted him out and realized he was not going to get up, so he raised Sirimongkol's hand as the winner. Sirimongkol went and changed his clothes, and when he came back, they were like,
ตายแล้ว
your opponent has already died, and the doctor felt for his pulse, and he had no pulse.
goosebumps thinking about it.
Sirimongkol has goosebumps talking about it. Something that he does not say to me, but is true, is that he gave a portion of his purse from all his fights to the son of that opponent who died in the ring until the son finished primary school. So he was known as the Executioner, but then he also became known as the pious boxer. This is crazy. So he fought like 2 times. Then he went to Bangkok, and because he was famous for having
His first fight in
basically
Bangkok, the referee stopped
had an
it,
opponent
saying
die
that
in the ring,
the fight was being
his
thrown.
first fight in Rajadamnern, the referee stopped the fight
Lumpini?
saying that they
Because he
thought
didn't
he
know
was
how to
throwing the
fight.
Had Lumpini?
because he wasn't very good.
Rajadamnern.
Oi.
So Sirimongkol's like, I just didn't know how to fight. I wasn't throwing the fight. I just wasn't very good. But I
แล้ว
had
ก็ชก
this
ถูกได้ลงแล้วผมก็ชกที่เวทีใหญ่ไม่ได้ลุมพินีราชเลย
reputation.
ชกไม่ได้ต้องไปชกต่างจังหวัด
ใช่
ชกไม่7-8 ครั้ง
So they banned him for 3 years, saying that he had thrown this fight. And he had to go back to the provinces and fight in Chachoengsao and areas around there.
ห้ามชก
But they expunged it. They took it away after a couple of months, saying that they no longer accused him of throwing the fight.
แล้วก็ซา
But
กีห้าม
he still had to
They
fight in the
banned him for
provinces for
3
quite a
years
while.
because they said he was throwing the fight มีเติมพันใหญ่ไหมคะมีเติมพันไหม
ไม่มีชกกันธรรมดา
มันมีถ้ามันเขาคิดว่า
I
ล
asked
งมวย
him
เพราะว่าไม่เป็น
if there was a big side bet on that fight, that there would be this accusation of throwing it. And he's like, there was no money on it at
ชก
all.
คนตายแล้ว
I just had this crazy
แต่เราเพิ่งชกครั้ง
reputation.
ที่ 2เองชกคนตายพอครั้งที่ 3มาชกร่าง
Because the reputation was he killed his opponent. Like,
Because
he
his
must be so
opponent-
strong
they-
and so
people
amazing.
knew that his opponent had died before, so they didn't know he didn't know how to fight. They thought he was like some incredible fighter.
มันตื่นเต้นอะ
So he was scared because he was thinking about his opponent.
Tunten.
And so he
Tunten
fight.
means like nervous.
คิดมากใช่ไหม
He said that when he climbed into the
So
ring
for
at
3
Rajadamnern, there were so many people.
ใช่
And it was Rajadamnern in Bangkok, and he was so nervous that he just did not, he could not fight, and everyone was booing him.
เจ็ดอีก
ไม่17
He had been fighting at
ชกร่าง
temple
นะ
fairs. He had like 2 fights.
อายุ17
ก็ชกกี่ครั้
He
ง
was still only 17 when he fought. It was like his 3rd fight ever that he fought at
ครั้งที่ 3
Rajadamnern.
น่ะครั้งที่1ที่2ครั้งที่1ชนะนอกยก2ครั้งที่2ชนะนอกยก1ผู้ชายตาย
First fight ever, knockout in the 2nd round. Second fight ever, his opponent died from a knockout in the 1st round. And then his 3rd
So
fight
he had to
ever,
go back to
Rajadamnern,
festival
and
fights.
accused
For
of
3 years.
Yeah.
For 3
throwing
years.
his fight.
ไม่ห้าม3 ปีแต่ว่า
What an incredible life.
เขาก็บอกว่าผมไม่เริ่มมวยแล้วยกโทษยก
But
เลิก
then, when he was 25 years old, he became fighter of the
So
year.
when did he learn how to fight?
When he got back to being able to fight at Lumpini and Rajadamnern, he excelled.
ก็ผมคือคนเป็นคนไทยทุกคนน่ะ
ใช่
มากจะชกมวยเป็นอยู่แล้ว
ใช่
แต่ผมไม่ได้ซ้อมที่เวที
ใช่
ก็ใจ
So I
ชอบ
asked him how many years had you been learning Muay Thai,
ใช่
and he's like,
พอครั้งที่2ชกคู่สุด
Thai
ท้ายครั้งที่
people
3มาชก
have
ที่เว
Muay
ที
Thai in
ตาม
them.
เวที
So even if you don't learn Muay Thai super hard,
ตื่นเต้นชกไม่ออก
there's Muay Thai in Thai
คน
people.
เยอะ
แย่คนเยอะมาก
ใช่
แล้วต้องกลับไปชกต่างจังหวัดอีก
He's talking about how nervous he was at
แล้วพอ
Rajadamnern.
ทันทีเขาประกาศว่าไม่ลงโทษเราชกได้แล้วย้อนกลับไปชกแต่
แต่
ช
ว่า
อบ
แต่ว่าชอบมวยไทยมากใช่ไหม
ชอบมวยไทย
ใช่ถ้าคู่ต่อสู้ตายแล้วรู้สึกเสียแต่ว่า
เสียใจ
ชอบมวยไทย
แต่ว่าชอบมวยไทย
So I'm asking him, I'm like, if your last fight, your opponent died, and then you have to go fight in Rajadamnern with all these people, so different from a temple fight,
ใช่
ชนะมาได้
it must have been very intense.
ใช่ใช่
He said
Did he
that
join a Bangkok gym?
his older brother
he
was
kept
in Bangkok,
winning.
so he
Like when
took
he
him
went
to
back to the
Bangkok.
provinces, he kept
But
winning.
It was like his third fight.
older
or
brothers who
something.
brought him to
First fight
Bangkok.
at Rajadamnern, but like his third fight ever, really, that Long Muay fight happened, and he just didn't really actually fight ก็มีรูปกับรามาเกามียศมวยอาจารย์ยศมวย1973ใช่ไหมคะนี่อายุเท่าไหร่
ตอนนี้25
I asked him how old he was when he became fighter of the year, and he said 25.
ประกาศห้าม3 ปีแต่ว่า
So he's like, I was banned for 3 years, but it didn't last for 3 years. They expunged it. But he still had to go back and fight in the provinces for quite a while before he was able to come back and fight at Rajadamnern and Lumpini.
The referees or officials looked at it and they were like, okay, we're going to expunge this. This is not.
แล้วไม่ลงใจแล้วก็กลับมาชกได้แต่เราก็ยังไม่มาชกล่ามเนินก็ชกที่ลุมพินีก่อนชกที่ต่างจังหวัดเองแล้วก็ค่อยมาชกที่ล่ามเนิน
He said that he wasn't able to fight at Rajadamnern, but he went and fought at Lumpini.
ปีนึงก็ปีแรกเลยไม่แพ้เลย
In his first
They have
year,
different
after they
promoters and
expunged that,
officials
he
at
got to
those
keep
two
fighting. He
stadia.
didn't lose for his first year.
Lumpini.
ลุมพินีล่ามเนินทั่วๆไปชกทั่วๆเลย
Anywhere he fought.
So he just went on a winning streak. So even though he didn't have a great debut, he kept winning. Like he kept fighting and winning. He was very strong. I asked him how he normally won by knockout because he has quite a few knockouts.
Is what usually won him the knockout.
He said that he just liked to punch left and kick left.
ผมต่อยใหม่ๆต่อยไม่
I asked him if he's strong. Look at his face. He gets a little smile.
แต่ตอนหลังผมเป็นแล้วต่อยแล้วผมจะต่อยแต่เพราะคาง
He said people punch wrong, like they punch the head and hurt their hands. When he punched, he was really accurate. He would just hit right on the button. So he's kind of a knockout artist. He's like, you hurt your hands when you hit people up on the head. He's barely touching me. I don't like it. It's like very
So he
sharp.
developed his fighting only through his
like to
style
punch
through
the body.
fighting.
เราจะไปเจาะจงที่จะต้องต่อยคางก็อย่างเดียวไม่ได้เราต้องหลอกล่อเขาก่อนที่ต่อยคางต่อยเขาปิดก่อนเก่งเนี่ยแล้วก็ต่อยท้องก่อนต่อยท้องปุ๊บแล้วต้องลูกหลอก
So he's saying when you try to punch someone in the jaw, they're going to cover up, and so it's closed, and so you punch the body in order to open up the face again. He understands this highly.
ไม่ใช่ต่อยอย่างนี้อย่างเดียวแล้วเขาก็แก้ได้แล้วเราก็ทำอะไรไม่ได้
He's like, if you only punch like this all the time, the opponent knows what you're trying to do, and they can just counter one thing. You have to change up. I was like, why did you know how to do this if you taught yourself? Like, if you just trained by yourself, how did you know how to do all these things?
Saying that Thai people know how to fight Muay Thai.
He said, because I'm Thai.
It's like untrained and trained himself. It's like,
He trained himself. He never had a master on Arjan.
ธรรมชาติด้วยแล้วก็การที่เราชกบ่อยๆแล้วก็มีประสบการณ์เขาเรียกประสบการณ์เข้าใจไหมในการชกอ่ะ
He's saying it's part of your nature, but you learn through fighting. He's saying it's important to fight a lot. So when he was going back to the provinces, he was fighting a lot. He said he would fight 3 times or 5 times, and his opponent would have, 2 or 3 fights. And so his experience, even though it's only a few fights more, his experience is what was winning him a lot of fights. He's saying it makes a difference when both of you can fight. The person with a little bit more experience has the edge.
มวยไทยเนี่ยคนยิ่งชกมากคนยิ่งมีประสบการณ์มากคนจะเก่งมากใหม่ๆคุณอาจจะแก้ลูกแตกไม่ได้แต่พอต่อยไปมันก็แก้ค่อยๆแก้ได้
ก็ชกบ่อย
นะครับชกบ่อย
ๆที่ชาชงเซาชกที่วัด
Chok
บ่
boy
อย
boy means to fight frequently.
ๆก็มั่วไปค่ายมวยที่กรุงเทพต้องสลับสไตล์ไหม
ก็เป็นสไตล์เหมือนเดิมอ่ะ
I asked him when he went to the gym in Bangkok, did they try to change his style at all?
เปลี่ยนอะไรคือธรรมชาติไม่ใช่
ธรรมชาติ
His trainers didn't try to change anything.
He's like, nope, just do what's natural to you.
ส่วนมากเนี่ยเราขึ้นชกเองเนี่ยเราต้องจำที่ครูสอนไว้เราชกเนี่ยเราต้องแก้ไข
This is beautiful. I think I misunderstood him in the
ครู
actual
จะมาสอนเรา
interview.
ตอนหมดยก
He's talking about how when you go in the ring and you fight for a round that's 3 minutes, you are alone for 3 minutes. Nobody
So he
helps
just
you.
loved Muay
You
Thai,
have to
so he would
believe in
listen
yourself.
to
You
and
have to
watch
know
everything,
for
and if
yourself.
people needed help in training, he would like go
ไม่มีใครมาช่วย3 นาทีบนเวที
I thought he was saying that he learned by watching all the time what people were saying in the corner. But I think he's saying that you're on your own for 3 rounds. You have to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and learn what to do for yourself. And then you go to the corner and you can learn from your coach what they think, maybe what you're not seeing or what they want you to do. But when you're fighting, it's just you. You have to believe in
เรา
yourself.
ก็ต้องเปลี่ยนไปตามเขาทำไงให้เหนือเขาล่ะให้เหนือเขา
ใช่ฉลาดมากนะ
How long before he was champion?
I told him he's very clever and
ได้
he's
ปีนี้
2 ปีกว่า
2 ปี
2 ปีกว่า2 ปีครึ่ง
I asked him how long it took him to become champion, and he said a little bit more than 2 years.
แชมเปี้ยนเฟเธอร์เวท
featherweight
He was
ที่
19,
เวทีอะไร
and he became featherweight champion
He became fighter of the year when he was
at
25
Lumpini.
25.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. So it was like 7 years into his starting career. แล้วก็มีลูกศิษย์คนเยอะไหมก่อนมาที่นี่เป็น
I asked him if he had a lot of
ครูที่
students
ค่ายมวยไหม
ไม่
ไป
because he went and taught in
Only when
Japan
he
for
went
like
to Japan
10
did he
years.
become a teacher.
Boy.
And he said he only really became a teacher when he went to Japan. He helped train people at his own gym for like a couple of months before he went
He
to
helped in his
Japan.
own gym for like 3 months.
Oh.
And he went to Japan.
He went to Japan.
Yeah.
So, when is the best era of Muay Thai? 90 or when he fight or?
This again, I think we misunderstood each other. I was trying to ask him when was the best era for Muay Thai, like when was the best Muay Thai. And the way I asked it, he misunderstood me and thought I was asking when were you Yod Muay. And so he gives me the year that he became Yod Muay, which was 1972. But he also talks about fighters at that time being the best. So even though I think it was a misunderstanding, I think he does see around that era as the best time for Muay Thai.
พศของฝรั่งนะ
ใช่
1972
So like right around when he was fighter of the year, like
So he's saying
72, 73.
The best Muay
1972.
Thai.
It's 1972 because Thai years and Western years are different.
มวยอาจารย์ชอบมาก
อ๋อก็ยุครุ่นพี่ผมก็อยู่จังหวัดเดียวกันชื่ออดุล
I asked him what fighters he really liked.
อดุล
อาดุล
ศรีโสธร
ศรีโสธร
There was this fighter named Adun. He's in the 123 all-time greatest fighters book.
Oh.
แต่ว่าเขาเป็น
I'm not familiar with him, but
เคยอยู่โรงเรียนเดียวกัน
Sirimongkol really liked him,
ม
Adun.
ผมอยู่ม .1
ใช่
ห่างกัน5 ปี
He said he was older. Adun was about 5 years older, so he kind of looked up to him and like watched his
ยอด
career.
มวย
It's possible they fought each other.
เก่งไหม
ที่เป็นนิ้วตัวนี้ไม่มียอด
ตอนนี้ไม่
I asked him now, are there strong fighters? And he's like, no.
สมัย
Which I hear a lot from Golden Age and before Legends.
ก็ลัง
ยุค
นี่
ผม
เก่ง
จะ
ไหม
ดีเซนน้อยแล้วก็มาสามารถแพ้กับรุ่น
So I'm talking about people from his era. He's older than Diesel Noy,
ที่บ้าน
but he had very positive things to say about Diesel Noy.
They're also from Chachoengsao.
Oh.
Chachoengsao.
He's like the average fighter now cannot hold a light to the average fighter from before.
ชาญเซาแต่ไปโตที่ชลบุรี
ใช่ดิสนอยมาชลบุรีด้วย
I'm pointing out that Samart and Kontorni are from Chachoengsao and that Diesel Noy lived in Chonburi.
แต่ถ้าบุคคลเป็นมวย
And
ไท
he's
ย
like, oh yes, it's important where you're from.
Because it matters where you're born.
Just a smile and face.
ชกเก่งมาคนจังหวัดนี้ชกมวยเก่งนะ
It's like your talent is a birthright from where you're from.
แต่ว่าความต่อรอง
I asked him if Isan fighters are strong, and he says they are very strong, but their technique is not amazing. They're too chon. Chon is like a clash.
In Asan, very strong. Like, they don't get tired. But if you want technique, it's farther south. It's like Chachoengsao Central.
ภาคเหนือเป็นมวย
So like central Thailand is where the best technique is.
ความต่อรองน้อยแพ้น็อกง่าย
In the north, they lose to knockout a lot.
So he's saying people in the north have good technique, but they lose to knockout. They're not strong.
ไม่เก่งไม่เขาเก่งเหมือนกันแต่ว่าความอดทนนะเวลาปะทะกันนานๆแล้ว
ใช่
เก่งไม่นานเก่งได้ไม่นาน
สู้ไม่ได้แบบไหม
He says they can't fight for long in the north, like they're not physically strong, even though they have good technique. But in central Thailand, they have technique and are strong. I asked him about the south, and he's like, they're strong in the south, they're good, and their technique is good.
เคยชกกับผมอะผมแพ้
He fought with Put Lertrit.
Oh.
เพราะว่ากรรมการไม่ยอม
He
นับ
shows me a picture
ผมคนเดียว
that he
ในประ
keeps
เทศ
in
ไทย
his
ที่
wallet.
ชกพูดรอด
He fought against Put Lertrit, possibly in the south, I'm not sure.
กรรมการ
But
ไม่ยอมนับ
in the photograph, Put Lertrit is on the ground,
ผมคนยืน
Don Mat Sai.
and Sirimongkol
He's the
is
only
waiting for
person
him
to
to
ever
get up.
put
He's in the
Put Lertrit
corner.
down.
Oh.
That's him standing in the corner waiting for him to get up. It was a left.
That's an amazing photo.
The only person to knock him down.
He lost on points. But
He
knocked
lost
him
on
down.
points after 5 rounds.
He keeps it in his wallet.
Yes. To bring out when he sees.
มากแต่ว่ากรรมการไม่นับ
What was it like to
He
fight
said it
him?
was the referee's fault.
Oh.
Get
What
up.
was it like to fight him?
He said the referees didn't allow.
What was he like as an
To
opponent?
win.
Yeah.
ชกกับพุทธโรเล็ก
ครั้งเดียว
ครั้งเดียวสนุกดู
He said they only fought once.
รู้สึกว่าอะไร
I asked him, was it fun to fight him, or were you
เป็น
nervous?
ยอดมวยอยู่แล้วพูดรอดเลยก็จะมาชกกับผมที่ไม่ได้ชก
He said he was Yod Moy at the time.
หัวหมาก
ใช่
Put Lertrit
นักมวย
was.
กิติกิจรหัวหมาก
And so Sirimongkol was kind of the like up and
เขา
comer.
ตังค์มากไหม
เก็บตังค์ได้เยอะ
ตัวนี้เป็นทุนกันไหม
He's talking,
ตอนนี้เจอกันแล้ว
you'll hear this a lot. There's influence in someone's name
Oh,
or in
yeah.
someone's gym.
ผมบอกเขาโชคดีที่
But he said that he and Put Lertrit speak when they see each other.
ก็ต้องเป็นฝ่ายเดินมา
I guess that means no hard
ก็
feelings.
ต้องเป็นฝ่าย
ใช่
อย่างนี้กรรมการไม่นับเขาก็หนีเพราะผมต่อยได้ดีแค่2 ยก 3 ยกแล้ว 4 5ผมก็เพราะผมอายุมากกว่าเขา
กรรมการช่วย
ไม่ใช่กรรมการช่วยเพราะผมอายุมากเขาหนุ่มกว่าผม
He's saying that the referee helped Put Lertrit a little bit.
ใช่ He said he was Put Lertrit was faster.
Fast.
But he said Put Lertrit was faster.
If he's fast.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
แล้ว
just
เขา
like-
สมองนี่เขาแก้ไขมวยเก่ง
ใช่ใช่
I said hippies fast, so maybe it's a southern thing.
What about the future of Muay Thai? Has he worried us?
คิดว่าตัวนี้มวยไทย
This is a question we've asked some other Golden Age legends is what they think the future of Muay Thai in Thailand is going to be. And this response I'm getting from him is kind of universal.
มวยไทยประเทศไทยมันมีแต่เพราะมันมีการพนัน
They're like Muay Thai is going down in Thailand.
การชนะยุคนี้
Because of gambling.
ปัจจุบันเนี่ยจะทำให้ความแข็งแรง
But it's interesting what he says about gambling ruining Muay Thai. Usually people just talk about how gamblers only like power now.
ใช่
And he does mention this, but he's talking about how now people only care who wins,
ม้วนกัน
which implies that
ม้วนกันแล้ว
before there was less consequence for losing your fight. Like if you fought really well, gamblers still really liked you.
ทีเดียวปั้มตีเขา
He says now people just
ใช้
do one strike to get into the clinch and knee a
ล้ม
lot.
อะไรอย่างเงี้ยแข็งแรงเมื่อก่อนนี้อาวุธมวยไทย
And then it's all about power throwing people on the ground. That there's not as much exchange as there used to be in the Golden Age.
เขาแพ้คนรู้เปลี่ยนเป็นเตะ
ใช่
เตะแพ้คนรู้เปลี่ยนเป็นทีก็เหมือน
He's showing how certain weapons beat other weapons, and it was
ว่า
like
ตัวนี้กรรมการ
a full exchange of weapons between the two fighters.
เมื่อก่อนซิมบี้ดูมวยไทย
And I'm like, now referees break the clinch a lot faster, whereas I've seen older fights
ถ้าบัง
where the referee kind of let it
โดน
develop.
แล้วก็เปลี่ยนก็ได้
And he's
แต่ว่า
agreeing
ตัว
with
นี้
me. He's saying back in the day they'd give you like 20 seconds. Now it's like 5
หรือ
seconds.
กับเป็นฝ่ายให้กอดตีเขาได้นาน
ใช่เนอะ
ใครนะเมื่อก่อนนี้จับตีเขาได้
He's saying before when you grabbed and you started kneeing, they gave you more time.
ตัว
อย่าง
นี้
นี้ปล่อย
how
เขา
he
ปล่อยเขานานเลย
He's saying, I was saying that the referees break the clinch a lot faster now. He's like, they used to give you like 20 seconds at least to like kind of work something out, and now they break it. But people are basically just striking to get into the clinch, and then they kind of hold, like they don't have.
They don't move for dominance,
มวยไท
yeah.
ยชกเทคนิคจะน้อยลงแทบไม่มี
ใช่
อาวุธมวยไทยก็มีแต่ปั้มเข่าอย่างเดียว
ใช่ People don't have the same weapons anymore. They just use
He's saying
weapons to
that
get
there
into
were many more
ช่องกลับ
techniques
ไม่
before
มี
that
ช่อง
people just don't use
มัน
anymore.
มี
They just strike to get in
แต่ที่เดียวก็ปั้มเขาแล้วปั้มมันก็ปั้มเขาแล้วก็ปั้มจนเขา
Says they only kick once to grab, punch once to
แก้ล
grab.
งไม่เป็น
It's not
ก็ตีเขาสู้ก็ไม่ได้ก็ตี
chains and conversations of
ก็
technique
สามยก
anymore.
ก็รู้แล้วสู้ก็ไม่ได้ตีเขา
ใช่
ก็4 5ก็ยังตีเขาอยู่แล้วมันจะมาสู้กันเลยก็ตีเขาสู้ก็ไม่ได้3 ยกไปแล้วสู้ก็ไม่ได้
ใช่ใช่
The way he's talking right now reminds me very much of when Karahat gets on
I
a
think
roll
people are
about how
exhausted by
something's not
round 4
right.
now.
Look at him scratch his
And
head
they're not
about it.
fighting in the first 2.
He's like, now, within 3 rounds, you already know who's going to win the fight. It's boring. Like, there's no development.
ทุกค่ายได้
ใช่
เป็น เน้นเรื่องปั้มเข่าฟัดเวียนหักล้มอะไรเงี้ย
แต่มันมีเทคนิค
เทคนิคไม่มี
ล้มซวยใช่
Mummy, saying technique mummy. Nobody has technique anymore.
เขาพูดมวยไทยมันน้อยลงใช่เป็นการปั้มเข่าความแข็งแรงมากกว่า
ใช่ตอนนี้มีครูมวยเก่งไหม
He says now it just matters who's stronger.
ดีมากมีเทคนิค
I asked him if there are trainers now who are really good teachers to bring some of that technique to modern Muay Thai. And he's like, Samart is a very good teacher. Siryongkol, he said, is a good teacher, but Ajahn Siryongkol has died already. So he's talking about before he was a very good teacher. He said now trainers only teach for what will win the fight. It's all just power. So now everyone is only training knees. He's saying you have to train everything because you have to understand what your opponent's strengths are and make changes to your game based on that.
No exchanges. Yeah.
ผมเตะคุณไปในขาคุณแก้ได้ผมก็เตะลำตัวคุณแก้ได้ผมก็เตะใต้คออย่างนี้ไล่ไปเรื่อยๆผมเตะ
So he's talking about how you start by kicking the leg, and then you can go to the middle and you can do the head kick. But nowadays people have like one weapon, they just throw it over and over.
แต่ว่ามันจะมีหลายอย่างไม่ใช่เตะอย่างเดียวมีทั้งหมัดศอกเข่าจังหวะและการตัดสินใจ
ใช่ People are just more well-rounded.
He's saying that nowadays when you try to do different techniques you lose. So people won't try things because they're so afraid of losing. Whereas it sounds like what he's talking about is that before you could try more things to put on a good fight and it meant a lot rather than just who won or lost.
Before.
That's good.
ทุกอย่างต้องใช้สมองแล้วดูเพราะว่าเขาจะออกพูดอะไร
He's like, you watch to see what weapons your opponent brings out, and then you know what to do and answer. It's like a conversation. It's like asking someone, what's your favorite thing to say? It depends on the conversation. But nowadays there are people who, what is your favorite thing to say? And you just say it a lot.
The same thing that we talked about with Golden Age fighters, where it's like offensive.
Exchange.
He's saying you have to change. Now he's like, people just grab you and knee and you lose. Golden Age legends don't like how much throwing there is in Muay Thai right now. I learned only recently that it used to be a foul to kick people's legs out the way that you can do now when you catch a kick.
Indy was saying the other day, where like it used to be competitive, where like there would be this exchange of people like climbing. He's like, now you grab a knee 2 times and you know who won. Like it's.
He said before when you trained Muay Thai you had to train everything. You had to be able to do everything because you had to change based on your opponent.
Puncher or knee fighter or whatever. It's like, it'd be like, I'm a knee fighter in this fight because of
This is interesting because Diesel Muay has talked about how before people used way more technique and he knew how to do everything. He's known as a knee fighter, that's what his strength is, but that's not the only thing he did. He had to use lots of technique in the exchange. He said you have to be smart in your fights. So I'm talking about how Westerners love Buakao. They think he's the best, but that I have a hard time watching a lot of his fights. He doesn't fight a lot anymore, but I don't watch them. So Sirimongkol is talking about how the techniques of Muay Thai are not really taught anymore. And I'm like, many people think that these are amazing techniques, but they just don't know older techniques. So Sirimongkol is talking about how before, when you had 2 fighters who had a lot of technique, the pauses between things and the tension between things was really interesting. Now people just kind of swim at each other, and this is the technique that's taught in gyms now, is just how to like go, 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 go. And he's like, nobody can fight a full fight that way.
So the like, here's which of Muay Thai, like real technique.
He's saying here at the cultural center they teach technique, but in gyms around Thailand they don't anymore. He's saying they fight for 3-minute rounds and they bring all their weapons out, but they don't do anything. They just can't breathe. He's saying before there was rhythm and timing. You would go, and then there would be tension, and then you would go again. It's not like a 3 minutes of throwing yourselves at each other.
That's exactly like Karahat.
Karahat was complaining about this exact same thing.
Just not stop. Like you have to learn to swim.
But the continuity of movement in older techniques includes this like finding time to rest and breathe while remaining active rather than just throwing yourself. Sirimongkol says that what he knew as technique is now called Baran. 2, 3, go! Alright, so this is General Tunwakom. He specializes in Muay Karat Lertrit style. He's in the Muay Thai library. You can go look at his sessions, but he is the head of this program that Sirimongkol also assists in teaching. So these 3 men are teachers in this style and in this program. And this is basically like walking into a card game and joining the conversation with these dudes. It's amazing. It's very close to a jam session, except that they're just excited about showing me all these variations. Just watching General Tunwakom's movement when he's illustrating, he's not even touching me, he's illustrating how to stop that kick by countering above the knee. I can feel how awful that would feel at real speed. General Tunwakom jumped in because we had just interviewed Sirimongkol, and he was just excited and wanted to show me more things. And then Sirimongkol is excited and wants to clarify because he helps teach the style. Oh, God. Look at how sharp his movements are. Even though he's not taking huge steps, he's actually taking very small steps. But the way that he turns his body and the sharpness of all of his movements, oh, it's all power in a tiny space. So he's saying when you close your guard and protect yourself, your elbows are naturally out. So you can use the elbows to like bash your opponent in your defense. Defense and offense are the same. He's asking his nephew how to say this word in English that he's saying in Thai, and his nephew is saying it's defense. General Tunwakom is sure that this is not the word. His nephew and I are pretty sure it is. he's talking about defense. Counterattack is what he decides is what he's talking about. Which is distinct. That's not necessarily defense, but the counterattack includes the defense from whatever they're doing. So he's saying that yesterday he was showing this to somebody. See how that elbow would intersect like right above the knee? That would just kill your muscle. I love how Sirimongkol just appears into the screen and then will disappear again.
He said that lots of people say that you can't counter a kick with your elbow. I don't know why anyone would say that when every person who's ever trained in a gym has kicked an elbow before.
Totally.
So you can also counter with this knee into the fleshy part of the leg, which is what Sirimongkol was showing me before. He's putting his knee into my shin, and then he also does this like snap kick into the leg that would just stop the kick before it even really takes off from the ground. These are not typically Muay Thai looking movements. It's a combination of Muay Karat and Lertrit, which are particular styles. But what's interesting about these movements is when you look at the twist of his body and the economy of his movements. It has a very Baran, which is the word for like ancient, feel to it. If you look at like Muay Chaya, a lot of it is defense and using elbows and knees as defense as well. But all the power is generated through the twist of the hips and the waist. I see it when I look at General Tunwakom, when I look at the way he twists his waist and bends his knees. It looks like a golf swing to me. But look at how he completely turns sideways to just break my damn arm on that. So he blocks it, and then the counterattack is in the block. Like it flows out of it. Oh. I fought this girl who kept putting her hand in my face like that, and when I see him do this like twist move, I would die if I could do that in a fight. It'd be so amazing. So see how the way that he's blocking, he's putting his bone against my bone? That does not feel good. Like that damages me just in the block itself. Sirimongkol knows. He's like, I know that hurts. See how he flips the outside blade of his hand up? That's what's causing damage to me and not so much to him. It's the same as when you like check a kick and you turn your shin out a little bit. Sirimongkol jumping in to tell me that when you hit the fleshy part of the arm, it makes the arm go dead. Oh, God. Look at how he steps forward and his hips come forward.
And the muscle.
And then he goes into my shoulder.
Your arm would be
that would
so
kill the entire arm. It would just be flopping around. Look at his step and his hips roll around. That would break your collarbone right there. As would that. Nasty. He's like, you should like elbows. Elbows are very strong. And I'm like, I love elbows. I just don't throw them. This is so beautiful because it's an entire arsenal of elbows that aren't just like, I'm trying to hit my elbow into your face. It's using elbows in all kinds of ways to do damage and take away your opponent's favorite weapons. Jesus. When you hit the leg with the elbow, you damage the leg and their kicks aren't strong. When you hit the shoulder, their punches go away. It's defensive elbows in addition to offensive elbows. Look at that twist. Look at his hips and how the elbow comes. It stays really close to his body, but then it comes out. See how those are progressively to the side? So that's for the kick coming. You counter it with that elbow. He says you have to have two things. You have to keep this guard up, because if they change their kick, if their kick ended up being really high instead of a middle kick, you're blocking up high. This is important though. You have to listen to his breathing. His breathing is really important.
If I kick here, he can block me here, and if I try to kick higher, his elbow's already up.
See how he's guarded across his chin as well? This is like a semi-version of the Dracula guard. But the elbow's coming across the other side. Oh, hear that breathing? And look at how snappy all of his movements are. Like they're really fluid and beautiful, but they're very abrupt. There's a sharpness to this style that's really beautiful. It's in the economy of movement. All of his steps are really small with his feet.
ถูกไหมเนี่ยท่านี้คือท่ารับนี้เป็นท่าที่คนไทยจะสอนแบบนี้แต่ผมไม่ใช่
He's saying Thais train wrong. They turn sideways and just have both their arms up, like almost like you're catching with pads. But he's saying that in the twist, as the elbow intercepts the leg, that's the real movement. That's the real damage.
ใช่ต้องพยายามฝึกก็ทำได้ใช่ทุกอย่างอยากแต่ว่าถ้าบิดเอวธรรมชาติบ่อยๆแต่ว่าไม่อยากแต่ว่านี่
So I'm mispronouncing this word. I'm saying want instead of difficult, and so Sirimongkol makes fun of me.
I'm saying want instead of part.
None of these movements are difficult if you know how to twist your waist the way that General Tunwakom is doing it. If you can't twist the waist, every single movement is really difficult to execute because they all come from that waist twist. But once you get the waist twist, every single move comes out very intuitively and beautifully. He's about to chastise me for not breathing. See, I'm starting to get the waist twist, and so when I intercept his arm, that's doing damage to his soft tissue.
Oh, hook and an uppercut together.
It's swingy, and the elbow stays really close to the ribs, so it's the same as what Sagat and Charchai teach in how to throw punches. Both of them are in the library teaching that. I love how Sirimongkol has to take off his watch to do these things all the time. Oh. These two men are very close in age. I think they're maybe 1 or 2 years apart in age. And they have very different experiences. Sirimongkol coming from ring fighting, and General Tunwakom coming from the military and having learned and taught this style for so long. He is the last living student of the original teacher of the Lertrit style. So I'm saying there's a nerve in the arm there that when you hit that, it does a lot of damage. Look at how close his back arm is to his body.
All the way over.
Before he does the step with his leg
All the way
to like
over.
whip it around. See how he completely turns his body in order to land that. Oh, that would be so strong. So he's saying you can elbow the arm, and then as you come back with your elbow, you're hitting the face. This reminds me of my very first teacher, Master K. He had a lot of like hit them on the way back movements as well. So he's saying even if you miss with the elbow, you have a chance to hit them on the way back. He's saying even if you cut them on the way out, you can open it more on the way back. And if someone dodges the elbow, they're going to try to counter you and they're going to come in, so they're going to get hit on the way back. Double slash. Just make the cuts bigger.
แต่ตัวนี้เนี่ยคนจะป้องกันได้ง่ายคือถ้าเกิดพี่ตีผมมาเนี่ยพี่สอบตีผมมาคนจะป้องกันได้ง่ายฝั่งเนี่ยคนจะป้องกันได้ง่ายฝั่ง
This is cool. So this is countering an elbow with your elbow. Poor Sirimongkol. I can attest to how much this hurts because I've done it by accident. It's totally like how when you check with your shin when you're not expecting it, it hurts a lot more than when you do it intentionally. If you intend to block someone's elbow with your elbow, that hurts a lot for them. See how he steps over first in order to create the energy for the twist when he blocks that arm? It's like how you step over or twist out for a hook. He like hammers it out of the way. But super economical, like he does not bring his arm wide. He says that the opponent thinks that you're going to punch because it's the same movement as a hook. So he gets the arm out of the way. Oh. Not fun.
So he was saying in the class today about countering to the inside like that. That ทุกคนต้องการหน้าใช่ไหมแล้วก็นี่ได้นี่
So he was saying in the class that he taught me on that day that I got to watch and then was pulled into a couple of times, that everyone wants to defend their face. So they're just worried about defending their face. When you counter their arm, like when you push them out of the way, they do not know where to defend. He says you have to do this like 1,000 times in order to get that automatic movement. He actually said 100 times, but you have to do it with him.
ดูนะเราเริ่มก่อนไม่ใช่เป็นการป้องกันตัวเมื่อกี้ที่ลูกบอกป้องกันตัวให้เขาทำก่อนไม่ใช่เราทำก่อน
So he's saying you don't only defend, like the defense is the initiating movement into the counter. They go together. These movements are unusual. You don't see this in Muay Thai, and so it feels like this is borrowing from many other styles, which is possible that it is. But in Muay Thai, the same concept works a lot. When you counter someone and off-balance someone, and that flows into your offense, you'll see that in a lot of the Yod Muay from the Golden Age. Oh. This is also what Sirimongkol was talking about in our interview, is how there are so many options. Like, General Tunwakom is excited because there are so many options, so he just shows me more and more and more, because he thinks about variations on a theme. Like, you carry someone's arm and you have all of these options of how to hurt them on the other side of it.
ผมซ้อมกับคนจีนที่นี่คนจีนที่นี่อายุ23ผมอายุ72ผมตั้งอย่างนี้ปากแตกเลย
He's talking about how when you block with your spiked elbow like this, people who are trying to close distance, they're basically going to walk straight into that. But he's emphasizing the importance of turning your waist to the power on that, which you can see when he does it, how it's all generated from that turn.
He's showing me something I've never seen before. I'm a little worried.
Look at how weird this is. It's like he puts his hand on his hip and his elbow is out, and then he twists and it like nails the outside of my arm. He comes over here to show me on the bag, and the craziest thing is how much power he generates in this thing. Look at his feet in the mirror so you can see how he's standing. And then you can see his heel just barely come up because it's not in the legs. You bend your knees so that you have flexibility, but it's all coming from that turn of the waist. He's saying you can knock someone out if you hit them in the ribs with this. Breakable with that for sure. He's like, do it 100 times. And I'm like, you'd have to do that many hundred times. To me, it looked like he was hitting on the outside of his elbow because he chicken wings it so hard. But he shows me that it is still on the bone. But he's talking about where his weight is. So his weight shifts onto the back leg and then onto the front leg as he twists.
Hand on your
He's talking
stomach.
about how it comes from the outside
So
and swings in. He's saying sai mot, which is the same phrase that Yodkun Pan used with me yesterday when he was telling me that my knee had to come to the outside and then land inside. So it's this angle of seemingly coming wide, but then landing dead center. There's like a bend to it. So you create one piece out of your elbow, and then the twist of the waist is what generates all of the power. You're not swinging your arm at all. You've got like robot arm. And he's yelling at me. He's like, breathe. Why are you not breathing? There's pretty good power on that. Sirimongkol is saying that that's about my weight coming forward. But the reason that's working is that I'm transitioning my weight from the back foot onto the front foot as I'm landing. This is the opposite of the like karate kiai. You hear the inhale and you don't hear the exhale. He's saying do this with your fist now. I am so afraid of this punch. I broke my hand on an overhand right, so I'm very like timid about things that appear to be like overhand rights. I did it wrong. It's not that I like executed it perfectly and broke my hand. I messed it up. But I have a hard time learning this one from him because of that hesitance. In the same way that I was throwing that elbow, if you hesitate on it, you don't twist your waist. Sylvie. Like you don't make your arm one piece because you're hesitating and trying to pull it. So you're like interrupting the chain of command. He's saying this is dangerous because you can break your arm if you don't throw it right. That's totally what I'm afraid of. Oh god, but look at how hard. And he's hitting with like the blade of his bone. He's lifting his foot up right there to show me how all of the weight is coming onto his front foot. I'm like, yeah, that would knock someone out. For sure. He's saying bring all your weight onto your left foot. That's why he was lifting his foot up, was to show that there's no weight on the back foot as you're making contact.
Don't bend your arm.
I'm bending my arm because I'm trying to pull the strike. I'm trying to like control it.
So it's
like
a whip.
It also hurts as you're making contact with the bag, which that's okay. Like some strikes hurt. Everyone who's kicked a bag and hurt their shins knows that it is a conditioning thing. But look at how my weight is not finishing on the other side of the bag, which his totally does. Oh.
Yeah.
See how his weight finishes entirely on the left side of the bag? And he's whipping from his right hip. He's saying you should be able to see yourself entirely on the other side of the bag. See how the arm is bent there? And he's like, no, not that. Because then the power finishes on the target. Whereas when you swing around, it finishes through the target. Look at how like nonchalant that looks. And it's so powerful.
It's relaxed.
Nope. It's the same thing of like how people with a super strong kick, the kick is like a whip. Like the kicking leg is kind of loose and it just kind of like whips through the target. It's the same thing with this punch. I'm timid about it.
I'm afraid of that.
I don't like it. I'm afraid of it.
Your elbow's bent. You're gonna break your
because I'm bending my elbow, I can't whip it There has to be a looseness in it, like when you like flip a towel. You can flip a towel.
Yeah, it's like a slap. It's like a slap.
So I'm making a thud, and General Tunwakom is making a point about how it's kind of like a slap because of the looseness in the arm.
That's better.
My weight is a little bit better. You can see it coming onto my front leg because I'm kind of like loosening up the arm a little bit more. But I think because of the discomfort of the actual contact, I start bending my arm again. Kevin says it looks better and asks me if I can feel it, and I'm like, no. So he's saying that you do not have to step. You don't move your legs at all. It's just the twist. See how his weight shifts from the back leg onto the front leg? If you watch his hip, you can see that transition. But look at how bent both of his knees are. So he's basically having me like walk into the move. Look at him like gallop up onto it. He's like, you don't have to be afraid. I'm trying to get the breathing back in, and I'm putting my hand on my stomach to feel the twist of the waist.
Your arm is tense.
But he wants me to kind of gallop up on it. I gallop with my feet staying in their original position, so I'm like shuffle stepping. But he wants me to walk. So see how he actually switches stance, like walking. You walk up, and then as the other foot is coming back into place, that's when the weight is transitioning. Because like if you step like this, you don't have the transition of the weight on the strike. That's why you walk, so that as you're landing onto that front leg again, the strike is coming. Bang! Little bit. I got prancy feet a little bit. I'm jumping up instead of forward. I'm not going through the target. Like, see how my weight is not landing on my front foot properly? I'm too afraid of the movement. He's like, it's okay. Not today. And Sirimongkol is like, you have to learn this and practice it over time. You can't learn it in one day. It's very sweet. So, General Tunwakom is talking about how the power comes from where your weight is in your legs. Look at how he changes position. He basically like twists the foot, changes his weight, and then twists the other foot to get back into calibrated position. Look at how Sirimongkol is doing it with him. See how economical that is? He like doesn't really pick his feet up off the ground that much. When I was at the Patara elephant farm in Chiang Mai, the guy who runs it was talking about how elephants are super safe because they always have 3 feet on the ground. Always. This is why he's so steady, is that his feet do not come off the ground. He's never really on one leg. The most dangerous thing in Muay Thai is kicking or kneeing and being on one leg because you can be swept or kicked or off balance. He doesn't bring his feet up off the ground, so he's never in that compromised situation. Look at him change position, and it flows. It's beautiful footwork, but very small economical movements. And every time he transitions his weight, that could be a strike. The strikes are built into this footwork. He's saying it's the same as the Y crew when you do this part of the Muay. I like how different Sirimongkol looks. He kind of has like a stutter in it that's really cool. It makes it a little bit unpredictable. See how there's like a pace to the step? I'm doing a little like tap on my foot, but the way that I twist as I step forward is not as symmetrical as what General Tunwakom.
You could stay planted, you know, really firm, firmly planted. Yeah.
Super grounded and stable. He's showing how unstable it is to have your feet in this position. See how they're staggered and both pointed in the same direction? If you teep him, he's going to fall over. He's saying this is the problem with boxing. Western boxing, Western. Oi. He's saying you're never tired when you move like this because it's very like economical and consistent. What's beautiful is that even though this footwork is kind of hard, I'm like trying to figure it out, even though it's really simple, is that the strikes come out of it. So General Tunwakom is teaching me how to breathe. He's saying if you don't breathe properly, there's no benefit. You're like breathing in a useless way. Listen to how you can hear his exhale. He says you don't breathe in through your mouth. You breathe in and out through your nose. He's saying that between rounds, you have 2 minutes. In 1 minute, you can take 11 breaths, which means that during your break in a fight, you can breathe 22 times to slow your heart rate and basically completely reset your system. He's saying with all the people yelling at you about what you're supposed to be doing and throwing ice water on you and all these things, it just makes you tired. You won't be tired if you breathe properly, if you slow your heart rate through this breath between rounds. It's not a small thing. So this is another example of how you go in one direction and then on the way back you're doing yet another strike. So he's showing me that if you miss on a kick, you can reverse and come back around and hit on the way back. You hit with the blade of your foot on the way back. The reason you're missing this kick is if someone like dodges out of the way. You're not missing on purpose. This is basically responding super fast to an unexpected miss. See how he turns completely sideways? But he's balanced as he lands, which is why he can reverse direction really fast. So even if someone dodges out of the way, they don't really stay out of the way because they're going to try to counter off of having made you miss. So you can nail them on the way back as they're trying to counter you. I have like the most pansy, no power as I'm trying to return on that. But if you look at what General is doing, he's got this like flick as he's coming back. He's saying that first you work on getting the power and then you get the height as you become more comfortable with the reversal. He's saying kick for real. You kick for real and miss for real because they get out of the way. So you're not faking or like barely throwing the kick. It's a real kick. But see how he lands off of it and bends his knees deep? This is what allows me to get a little bit of power on my way back now, is that bend in my knees as I'm landing, because it allows me to actually have balance for a second before I reverse, whereas before I hadn't even balanced myself when I was trying to go the other way. He's saying breathe.
That little spring is good, baby.
Don't forget, the way that you twist your waist and the way that you breathe are everything. He's saying if you're having a hard time with this reversal kick, do a teep instead. But do not spin around in either case. You stop and then you reverse direction, or you can teep, but you don't spin around ever. Oh, God. And then he's like right back in stance. It's like no problem. Not that. No pirouettes in Muay Thai. I just want to say thank you to my patrons for helping make this kind of content and the Muay Thai Library project possible. It's one thing to be able to train with legends in the crews of Thailand and preserve their techniques, but it's another thing, additional to that, to be able to archive the men themselves who are the carriers of this old style and techniques and men that are vanishing fast from Thailand. So being able to create this library means an incredible lot, and you guys are the ones who make this possible. So thank you very much.